This is Talkin Jazz, presented by R.C. Willey and powered by Strong Auto Group.
Good evening, welcome to another edition of Talkin Jazz. Dave Fox along with the Joker. He's dressed in
the J is for the Jazz. It's not for the Joker.
Purple. Look at this, purple watch.
I'm sure that our
coat,
our people at home figured that out.
purple shoes. Okay, it's
You
for the
did
Jazz.
not.
But it looks good. Alema
you.
Harrington.
Yeah.
Good to have you, man. You and I spent more time with each other than we have with our wives in the last week. You did the high school games with me. That was
That's
a lot
right.
of fun.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that as well because Donovan Mitchell was up there. But lots to talk about. Things are so much better with just one or two wins.
Oh, thank goodness.
And just like that, the Jazz have a couple of wins. Not the greatest competition, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's all part of, building confidence and that sort of thing. But let's talk about Donovan because even through the losses, he was getting it done.
The thing about Donovan Mitchell coming out of All-Star break, a little bit of a slow start. And guys, I think can understand, getting exhausted emotionally from all of that. But he comes out 4 straight games, he had 40 or 30 or more points, right? These dunks that he's throwing down are so fun to watch. But for him, the record prior to that was 3 in a row. Now 4 in a row, 30 or more points in a game. He was getting it done. Then last night, in that game, first game on the road to this road trip, you're thinking most guys in their immaturity would say, I've got to keep this streak going. How many to score 30 or more? But that wasn't Donovan.
No, he gets 19.
He gets 19 points and was delivering the ball to guys. He was making, Fox, as they like to say, the right basketball play.
Or as the late Mr. Mackey used to say, he was making hay while the sun is shining.
Yes, the harvest.
Yeah. So let's take a look at this because a couple of numbers, and I got some of these ideas watching occasionally from your pregame show, and this was phenomenal. I didn't even realize this. 110 clutch points, which is tied for second in the NBA. Now, clutch, for those of you who may not be aware, it's inside 5 minutes, 5 points.
5 points or less.
That's unbelievable. And then, of course, his average is in there, 3.4 clutch points per game, 9th in the NBA. So he's getting it done. And then, Alema, you were talking about that 5-game streak, and Donovan.
And look, he knocked on
with the Cavs.
He knocked on the door of 40 twice in that little span right there, right? 31, 38, 37, and 30. And then you look on the other side. Now, this is important to understand, too. The number of times that he's going to the free throw line. Prior to this, in the games prior to this little streak that he was on, he was going an average of 2 times per game. Now, if you're Donovan Mitchell and you are the leader of this team, especially on the offensive side, you have got to get to the line. And whether that means you're being aggressive and getting to the basket, getting a bucket, or getting a foul, you look at the free throw attempts in those games when he was scoring 30 or more, and they're all much higher. And it's also a representation of his aggressiveness as far as his offense is concerned.
And again, in the game last night, he got a lot of help from his teammates, 6 total players in double figures. Now, to put it in perspective, I love this, Alema. He's going to pass Karl Malone.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty obvious.
No, there's no doubt about it. You look at his scoring capacity or his ability. He makes 30 points look easy. And there's times when you look at Karl Malone, and we can remember having covered his career, 30 points was a huge deal. And now for Donovan Mitchell to get a 30-point game is almost, he can do this, almost pedestrian for him. For him to be able to do that and make it look easy, that to me is one of the more impressive parts of it. Because there was a game earlier this year, I think, where Jordan Clarkson had 30. But you were well aware of it because it was kind of out of the norm. For Donovan, it has become really commonplace.
Needs 2 more to catch Malone, 3 to pass him. I think it's going to happen. You and I had a lot of fun covering the state championship, and he walked in that championship.
You thought people were cheering for you.
I didn't know what was. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. It was a 6A title game. Loudest cheer of the building. We're looking around, and there's Donovan. A lot of fun to see. The kids loved it. We know they're aware of it. We'll talk more about it in a second. But I want to play the interview. Tim Lacombe was our sideline reporter, former BYU assistant coach. Listen carefully to what Donovan says because there's a lot of little nuggets in here that really lets you know a lot about what this kid's about.
It was funny. There wasn't this kind of frenzy when I walked in here. Why is everybody so excited about you?
I think it was the suit. That's why
it was the jacket? Yeah, he gave me a shout out on the jacket. That's cool. Donovan, great to see you. Why is it so important? You do a great job of being out in the community. Why is that so important to you?
I think the biggest thing, for me is just using the platform we have. I know how much high school basketball meant to me. You know, I played at a high school where we had a big crowd, and, you know, we won 2 national championships, so I know how intense these games get, and I miss it, you know, sometimes. You know, obviously being a younger kid, I just want to come back and just watch and just provide support, you know, for the team and for the guys playing and just have fun.
I can imagine every one of these kids knows you're here right now, which is such a cool thing. You played at Brewster Academy, correct?
Yes, sir.
Against my boy Elijah Bryant, and we recruited Charles Abua out of there too. So that's a storied deal.
I tell Elijah all the time we used to beat them pretty badly, so I let him know. But Elijah's my dude. We've had a really good team, and we was really competitive league.
What's your thoughts of season right now? Obviously, you guys got a win last night. Got to be feeling a little bit better, but just generally your thoughts on the season.
We've been playing pretty well. You know, obviously we went through a little bit of a rough stretch, but, you know, obviously it was good to get that win last night, but we have a stretch right now coming up that we really got to lock in and stay focused for. I think, like I said it last night, let's keep it in perspective. You know, understand that, yeah, we got a big win. It was good to have a win, but we got to go out there and then compete and find ways to get better. You know, we can make a good playoff push, and I'm really happy with where our team is at, and I think we'll be in good shape.
Well, you're one of the class guys. Really appreciate you taking a second. We'll let you enjoy the game.
Thank you so much.
All right.
There you go. Good stuff, Donovan. Now, you pointed out, you and I were interviewing Dallin Hall after the game. He got tweeted by Donovan.
And you would have thought that he had died and gone to heaven, speaking of Dallin Hall, because, you know, he mentioned that all of these guys, when Donovan walked in the building, they may not have noticed it then, but Dallin Hall said, you know, I made a shot. I looked over to the crowd, and I caught a glimpse of Donovan Mitchell, and it's almost like his heart skipped a beat for a second.
That's so cool.
Because, I mean, just think of how cool it is for these guys to have performances like this and have moments like this, and then for Dallin Hall on top of that to get, you know, shouted out on Twitter.
Right.
And then he got
he's the MVP.
and got to meet him too after that.
That's right. His mother actually tweeted out a video. Dallin spending just a few seconds visiting with us.
Let me just
great to have Donovan.
Can I just put this in a little bit of context? Donovan, by no means third year in the league, had no need to be at that game, right? And it's his off day, right? Played on Friday. This is on Saturday.
Travels Sunday,
and play on Monday. So this is basically really his only day, and he's at the high school basketball game. And he mentioned that he loves the environment. We love the environment, and it was a great environment there at the Huntsman Center.
By the way, they tweeted a shot of him on the charter, and he's wearing a Fremont hoodie. Fremont gave him a hoodie, and he was wearing it on the way back to Cleveland. Royce O'Neal had set that out on his Instagram page. All right, well, that was a lot of fun. Let's get back into the Jazz specifically, though, because the other thing we want to talk about, Mike Conley's kind of taken a little bit of heat from some fans. But overall, and you wanted to point this out, that he's actually been playing pretty well. He didn't play a ton in February because of injury, but playing pretty well.
You know, I don't know if this is a fair comparison to make, but we were a little critical early on when Ricky Rubio came in. He was playing the point guard position. And I think anytime you're playing the point guard position, people are going to look at John Stockton as the guy that you have to, you know, be like. And certainly Mike Conley is no John Stockton. He is Mike Conley. And I think one of the things that I don't recall if it was Thurl that said it, I think it was, said it maybe last night as we were talking about this little streak that Mike is on. He's as comfortable now, or more comfortable now, than he's ever been in a Jazz uniform, and he's starting to look like the guy that used to play for Memphis. That's what you're getting from Mike Conley now. 16.6 points per game if you're looking at those February stats, and the numbers across the board are very impressive. And this is what, you know, you were hoping to get from Mike Conley. And I think people lose maybe perspective sometimes on what Mike Conley is bringing to this team, and then they see, oh, that streak that we had, 19 wins in 22 games, whatever, and Mike didn't play a whole lot, that we're better with that. That's hogwash. This is a better team with Mike Conley out there.
Well, they went through that whole thing where they were going to bench him, and then a couple hours later they're going to bench Ingles, and anyway, it all worked itself out. And
the maturity of Mike Conley to handle that situation, right? And he handled it extremely well.
Absolutely. All right, the other thing that's great to see, and last night, Bojan Bogdanovic even pointed this out. I struggled coming out of the All-Star break, he said, but welcome back, the three-pointers. It's been phenomenal the last two games in those wins, Alema, with a number of players, including Bogey.
Bogdanovic came out like a man on a mission last night. in that game. And it's always nice to get a win like that, the first game of a road trip where you're going to be on the road for 4 games. And yeah, there was no doubt that Bogey specifically was struggling, but the team as a whole was struggling from 3-point range. And the last couple of games, that win that they had right before, of course, coming out on the road against the Wizards, and then that win last night, all of a sudden the three is starting to fall. And it makes a huge difference because it's such a big part of what the Jazz do offensively.
Leading the league, of course, for much of this season. So the return of the 3, last 2 wins, look at this. A grand total of 39 3-pointers in those 2 games for the Jazz as a team, and Bogdanovich himself had 9 of those. So you look at all those percentages, that's pretty impressive. And
that 20 against the Cavs, that's tied for second most in franchise history.
Isn't that crazy?
So for the Jazz to knock down 20, that's a huge number for us.
It's funny, because we were talking about Stockton, back in the Stockton Malone days, it was cool when you hit a 3.
Yeah.
Now they're making 20 of them.
There's oftentimes in the game for a team, sometimes even the Jazz, where there'll be more 3-point attempts than 2-point attempts in the game.
And that was non-existent 20 years ago, or at least not to that degree. All right, time for this week's edition of Jazz Bites, presented by Kimball Roofing, the last roof you'll ever need. It's only a couple of games, but the Jazz doing what they are coached to do.
Jazz Bites, presented by Kimball Roofing and Repairs.
We played together. I thought we did a better job of handling the switching, especially with Joe and Boyan in the 5. We'll go back, and it's hard to analyze every 3-minute stretch. Like I said, there was good waves. I thought that our bench played much better in the second half. We struggled a little bit in the first half, and but there's going to be runs, and I think that just like there's going to be games and there's going to be quarters, and it's how you respond to it. So I was happy with, offensively, the way that we were really committed to moving the ball.
I think, guys just, being forceful with the ball, getting into the paint, not looking just to score, but to make plays for each other. And all season long, when we do it, it's contagious, and it's just fun to, be out there when we're playing like that. So guys just started rolling from the beginning, and, it was a fun night.
That's Jazz basketball. That's the way we want to play, and when we're able to do that for 48 minutes, it's very hard to guard.
What allowed you guys to get back into playing that Jazz way tonight?
I think our defense is the key. Playing defense, the way we can play defense and keep getting better defensively. Offensively, we have a lot of weapons, and we just have to share it. When we do that, we're a very good team.
We just came together. We got stops, we pushed the ball, we pushed the pace. We rebounded. I think we had 4 guys like 7, 9, 7, like in the rebound category. So just continue, like I said, to find ways to improve. But at the end of the day, we got another game on Wednesday. This is a good win, but we got a lot of work to do. And I don't mean that in a negative way. We just got some work to do to continue to build and get to where we want.
All right, so the Jazz tried to keep it going as they play the Knicks on Wednesday, which you would think, no problem. But they beat the Rockets last night, which is odd.
They led the Rockets by 20 or more, I think, at some point.
At one point, it ended up being a 2-point game. Celtics on Friday. Oh, that team's tough. Detroit Saturday, and then for the next 5 will be at home. Some fun games too. Raptors, Pelicans. You don't see it here, but the Lakers as well. But how about the Knicks? By the way, Spike Lee won't be there apparently for the rest of the season.
What a bizarre storyline.
So weird.
That is.
Nothing's weird when it involves Dolan. But anyway, how about this? You can't just go in there and assume you're going to win.
Yeah, the beauty of it was we were tracking that game a little bit last night, in part because the Jazz were 2 games behind the Houston Rockets going in. They get the win, and you assume that Houston would get the win too. They did not, because the Knicks upset them, so now it's a 1-game difference between the 5 and the 4 spot. But the Knicks will either be confident or I don't know what will happen. I think it does, at least for the Jazz, give them a little focus going into this. Like, you can't overlook the Knicks walking in there, because sometimes guys are always mesmerized when they walk into MSG. Madison Square Garden is the mecca of basketball, and guys still, feel like it's an honor, which it is, to play in that venue.
It's even better when Spike's there, but oh well. Celtics on Friday, and they're tough.
That guy right there, I tell you, Tatum is, he is having just an unbelievable stretch of games, and he's such an impressive player. You remember that he's the same draft as Donovan
Yeah,
Mitchell.
that's right.
And that there was that conversation, Donovan's rookie year, of whether Donovan or Tatum. Tatum didn't get as much playing time as Donovan did his rookie year, but Tatum has just continued to blossom, as has Donovan.
And they gave the Rookie of the Year that year to a second-year player. Back with a final thought coming up. An interesting statistical note from last night that was taken away from Rudy when we wrap up. Talking Jazz right after this.